Hello and welcome to my Research 1 vlog. I am Giovana Maraschin and I will guide you through my literature review. As a foreign language teacher, I have seen multiple examples of students struggling to grasp information in texts. They often read a text but cannot extract the meaning and apply it to real-life situations. In this vlog, I will expose the problem, the research questions, a literature review, and future application of this research. The problem. Objectively speaking, the problem is the inability of many secondary school students to read well enough to continue education, as seen in the Netherlands Times in 2024. My main research question is, how can students improve their reading comprehension? Sub-question 1. What does a student need to know to have good reading skills? Number 2. What is the profile of an active reader? And number 3, what are the possible strategies for students to develop their reading skills? Why can't the students cited in the Netherlands Times and many others read well? We have to understand what reading is. Scarborough created a metaphor to represent how the different components intertwine to form one concept. In his understanding, the language comprehension factors intertwine with the word reading factors. Then we have reading as if it were a rope, the final product. Activating word meanings, understanding sentences, making inferences, comprehension monitoring, and understanding text structure are language comprehension factors. Letter sound knowledge, accurate word decoding, and automaticity in decoding are word reading factors. According to the Program for International Student Assessment 2018, reading literacy is understanding, using, evaluating, reflecting on, and engaging with texts in order to achieve one's goals, to develop one's knowledge and potential, and to participate in society. Johnson Laird says that reading comprehension is the ability to read text, process it, and to understand its meaning. What does a student need to know to have good reading skills? According to Scarborough, reading comprehension entails more than the decoding of phonemes and words. A good reader not only understands the sentences and how they are structured, but they also understand the text structure. A good reader activates word meanings, makes inferences, and monitors their own comprehension. In McNamara and Maliano's words, the process of understanding the words, the sentences, and the relations between the sentences comprises comprehension. Thus, decoding and parsing of the information are a prerequisite. According to them, the comprehension process includes understanding the gist or underlying meaning of ideas, the priming or unconscious activation of related concepts, and the linking of ideas that are explicitly related. When those ideas are not explicitly related or when the comprehender seeks a deeper understanding, then inferences comprise a critical component of comprehension. Afflerbach et al. Understand reading comprehension as a complex skill that includes different types of comprehension processes, such as understanding words, locating information, identifying main ideas, and author's purposes, making inferences at various levels, integration, interpretation, and evaluation, not all of which are equally demanding to the reader. Answering my first sub-question, I can say that for a student to have good comprehension skills, he needs to be able to decode phonemes into words, to have good vocabulary, fluency, and prosody, to have good knowledge of sentence and text structure, to be able to identify the important information in a text, to activate and link related concepts and information in the text, to connect information from the text to their previous knowledge, and to monitor their own comprehension. Now let's move on to my second sub-question. What is the profile of an active reader? Pearson et al. State that active readers can summarize a text more easily than non-active readers. They consciously or not ask the text, the other, and themselves questions. They are active in linking information in the text with their own knowledge, making inferences to fully understand the text. They tend to go back to the text to solve doubts or problems. They are able to determine what the important information in the text is, and they tend to use different strategies. Van Werkum emphasizes informative texts. According to him, an active reader begins their activity by selecting the material. An active reader will also use cues provided like the author's name, images, and title to make inferences about possible outcomes. They will use their knowledge and connect it to the text. While reading, active readers construct a contextual frame, make inferences as they read, and adjust their internal pacing, for instance, to reflect on what the text offers. After reading, active readers reflect on the text, possibly activate new readings, and discuss the content with others. According to Keene and Zimmerman, active readers create mental images, ask questions, use background knowledge, make inferences, and keep a dialogue with the text. My third sub-question aims at discovering what the possible strategies for students to develop their reading skills are. Sharma in 2023 published a study in which she reveals she noticed the need to teach high school students active reading skills since they could not recall what they had just read in class. She taught students how to map their thinking process before, during, and after reading a text. Her goal was for students to see what the thinking process in an active reader's mind while reading a text is. Let's observe this research led by Raku at the University of Tirana around the effect of reading strategies on the improvement of the reading skills of students. This study had two research questions. One, the identification of the reading strategies used by students and the level of text comprehension as a result of using these strategies or not, and the role of institutional teaching of reading strategies and their practicing in specific reading contexts with respect to the improvement of the level of written text comprehension and the enhancement of reading efficacy. This was a three-stage study. In stage 1, students were asked to do some reading and answer some exercises based on their knowledge. They were gapped text reading and filling, multiple choice reading exercise, multiple choice cloze exercise, and open close exercise. In stage 2, the researchers submitted students to analytical instruction of reading strategies and practice. In stage 3, after students practiced the strategies for nearly a month, they went through a new round of text reading and the same type of exercises. The main strategies Raku taught were previewing, predicting, skimming and scanning, guessing from the context, paraphrasing, symbol identification, and morphology and syntax. Results. Before the intervention, only 19% of students achieved 50% correctness or above in both gapped text filling and in open-close exercises. After the intervention, 54% of students achieved over 50% correctness, and 64% students achieved 50% correctness or above in open-close exercise. Regarding the third-year students, 50% of students achieved less than 50% correctness in multiple choice reading before the intervention. After the intervention, 17% of students achieved less than 50% correctness in multiple choice reading. Conclusion. It is logical to say that the practice of reading strategies enhanced students' accuracy and improved their reading comprehension. The following study was led in the Netherlands in a University of Applied Sciences. It involved 801 students who learned to use 7 reading strategies. Researchers collected data regarding students' reading skills over 1 academic year from 3 treatment waves. In each wave, students completed reading tests several weeks before the intervention, at the beginning of the intervention, and directly after the intervention. 3 tests of equal difficulty were given to participants on those occasions. While this study has 2 main foci, we are focusing on its first research question that explores to what extent the L2 reading strategy program improves undergraduate student reading performance. The reading strategies taught per week in the program were connecting new knowledge to what students already know, asking oneself questions while reading, making predictions while reading, visualization, paying attention to structure and signal words, skimming, and scanning. Research Paper 2 results. M1, M2, and M3 stand for measurements. M1 was done weeks before the course, M2 right at the beginning of the course, and M3 at the end of it. The difference between M2 and M1 corresponds to a student's natural growth. The difference between M3 and M2 corresponds to experimental growth as a consequence of the course on reading strategies. Conclusions. After learning and practicing reading strategies, students showed substantial improvements in their reading comprehension skills. After analyzing the research papers mentioned, I conclude that active readers use different strategies to extract meaning from texts. Decoding phonemes into words is just a small percentage of what reading is. Students' reading comprehension increased after reading strategy instruction and practice. According to the papers, some of the possible strategies for students to develop their reading skills are mapping one's own thinking process, connecting new knowledge to previous knowledge, asking oneself questions before, while, and after reading, making predictions while reading, guessing from the context, making inferences, reflecting on what has been read, paying attention to structure and signal words, skimming, and scanning. Future research should focus on the impact of implementing the reading strategies in other subjects beyond English classes. For the future, I would like to propose the creation of reading seminars in schools, in which students be given the chance to learn and practice reading strategies in the first years of secondary education. The material for the reading seminars would feature different sorts of texts and integrate reading strategies. Reflection. Studying the use of reading strategies and what the profile of an active reader is brought awareness to the fact that, like in any other activity, the more a reader reads, the better they will become at it. However, students' natural growth may take time if they are not equipped with reading strategies. Having them use reading strategies will favor their learning. Additionally, I have realized that some of the strategies mentioned in these papers are already part of my teaching. I look forward to enriching my teaching and assisting students in making their own discoveries, breaking texts into pieces throughout their lives and becoming better readers. Thank you for accompanying me